So today I thought, well, we've just got this van in for conversion that we're doing at the minute. So what I thought would be a good exercise is if I'll act as if I'm selling this van to you and you're the buyer. I want you to walk round, tell me what you see, what's good, what's bad, and what you would look for when you were buying a van, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then you'll show me what to actually look for.
Well, I'll show you what I would look for.
Right, okay.
It's always a roll of the dice when you buy a second-hand van. There's no getting around that, and you can do everything right and still get it wrong.
Okay.
But this should give you an idea of what to look for. Okay.
Right. Okay. So I'm here to buy this van. Looks lovely.
Very nice van. The nicest van I think I've ever sold at anyone.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. I'll take it.
Yeah.
I'll take it. There we go. No. It reminds me of that time I went to Scarborough actually to look at that. It was a short wheelbase Sprinter. And I remember, I normally just message you and go, what do I look for? But I remember I got there, he chucked me the keys and went, where they go, look round. I remember just stood there going, oh, I need to look like I know what I'm on about. And I was just kind of looking under stuff. So it would probably be very similar to today. But yeah, what would I look for? What do I know? Obviously, the main thing, I would look for some rust. So get down under there. Now, I'm going to be totally honest, I don't exactly know where to look for the rust. But yeah, so there's parts, but I would definitely get a ballpark of rust. Yeah. Look for that. Maybe go for like basic cosmetic stuff. So check all these parts. Just check none of these are cracked.
Yeah. So as the seller, obviously, I'm going to tell you this is a ex-police drunk tank. You know, so what that means is it's been serviced regularly, it's been very well looked after, and unlike other police vehicles, it hasn't been chasing BMWs down the motorway. This is what they use to put the people in that have got too drunk on a night out.
Has it got full service history then?
It's got full service history. 2013 model, high top, extremely rare on these vans.
Past its MOT?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
The MOT guy said, never seen one this good.
I'll take it. No, what else would I do? Right, let's be serious. I'd say pop the bonnet.
Yeah.
Can you pop the bonnet for me?
There we go.
Nice.
Just hold that a sec.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay.
Is that it?
Yeah.
There we go. Right, so obviously pop the bonnet now. Obviously a very important part of checking what's wrong with the van. And yeah, probably again in here, would I look for like rust? Would I look for, I mean, this looks pretty clean in here. So I don't really, maybe a little bit down there, but I'd probably say I'd be happy when I was looking at this. Yeah. I'd look at the man selling it and I'd smile, I'd go, good van.
But you're right, it is nice and clean in there. It is a good indicator.
Yeah, I think that'd fill me with a bit of confidence. Yeah, I wouldn't bother checking levels and stuff. Oh, we'll come to that when you're doing it. Obviously, I'd check for just like, yeah, I'd look at the cleanliness of it. I mean, it looks like a clean van. I'd then say, can I take a look inside? I'd say, does the insulation come with it? Because that's half the.
For you, sir? Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, on the inside, I guess I'd just look for wear and tear on the floor, rust on the floor. Like maybe but again, that's going off what we learned last time. But like, is it just like full of paint and stuff?
Yeah.
Because obviously, if it's like that, that was the other Vito we worked on, full of paint. I'd probably just then can I have the keys? Come in here. I'd turn it on.
Yeah.
Turn the engine on. Just check, see that everything's worked. See if it comes on first time. Yeah. See if there's any noises that are rattling. See if there's anything that's round here. Check that the mileage is right to what they said it was. Take it for a quick spin round the wherever they're selling it, and then probably ring you and say, Ben, I don't know what to do. Should I buy it? Can you come with me tomorrow? But yeah, honestly, I think it'd have to just be the very simple things that I'd look for. Noticeable damage, obviously interior sounding and working right, and then just mainly go off what's the rust like underneath. Yeah. Should we flip?
Yeah.
Right, and now let's.
Okay.
Right, now I'm selling you the van.
Okay. This is the worst one I've ever seen.
Okay, so I've got this lovely Vito high top for you.
Well, yeah, okay. It's a bit rough around the edges, I'll be honest.
Okay.
Okay. First of all, we've got dent. The rear bumper, although it has got parking sensors, you can see these creases here. That's from reversing into something there.
Ah, right, yeah.
So, you know, it's not necessarily been a pavement princess. There's some staining, bit of yellow on this door. I don't know what that is. That'll have to be detailed out.
You see
Probably
what
a
I've got to do?
polish.
I've got to come round this side.
Yeah. Another ding on the wheel arch. I'm also checking vans of this age.
What year is this again?
2013.
13.
And Mercedes are a bit bad for this on the wheel arches, the Sprinters more so. But what I'm doing here is I'm feeling the inside of there, and see all that dust there?
Yeah.
It gathers on the inside of this. Now, because this is an ex-police one, it's probably been washed every day of its life, and it's excellent in there, and it's completely rust-free in there. That's quite uncommon on these Vitos.
Right, okay.
Normally get a little bit of spotting or just the starts of it when they about this age, but that's pretty good. But I wouldn't say that. That's just, you know, I'd point out that didn't.
Yeah.
Coming forward again, we've got. This is obviously where they've had some lights on and they've been plugged in. You know, not very tidy at all. Paint flaking off the body seal here. A bit of discoloration on these seals. Scrape on the wing mirror. And this is, you know, it's the budget pack, non-painted bumpers, you know. It's definitely not your top end one. The wheels could do with a refurb. What I'm going to look for underneath, so the main areas I'm looking for are these sills. I can see it's starting to go a bit on this seam. And to be honest, that's not bad at all. And when you feel along the bottom of the sill, it's not actually rusty, that. It's just where the bare metal's been shone and it's started to discolour. It's not actually flaking or it doesn't feel rusty, but I would probably point that out anyway. When I look in here, all your suspension components like this, I mean, you can still see the labels on them. They're all super tidy. One of the main things I look for when buying a vehicle is the tyres that are on it. Do all the tyres match and have they all got life in them? If you have a different budget tyre on every corner, that gives you an indicator that the person who's maintaining it is just doing it on a budget or just doing the bare minimum. Oh, I've got a puncture, I'll put something on. Oh, that one's bald, I'll put one on there. I always put a full set of matching tyres on all my vans, and it just tells you that the person that's owned it cares enough. You know, they're keeping up, they're servicing at regular intervals. The sort of person who puts a budget tyre on each corner that's different and handles and functions differently is the sort of person who might, oh, I'll leave that service a bit late, or I won't do that service, I'll skip that one. You know, that's a good indicator, and one of my trick tips for looking at them: do all the tyres match. Now, because this is ex-police, it's super tidy, all in here, but these are the areas to check inside the wheel arch where it gathers all that dust. But it's really good in there, actually. You can still see the sticker on the shocks and the springs. So areas for rust, I'm not really bothered about. Stuff like springs will rust, that it's a part that gets replaced. Control arms, stuff like that, they all rust and get replaced. The main thing is the main chassis of the vehicle, and you know, exhausts rust, but it's these big sort of components of the chassis and big sort of structural components, and at the front big sort of steering components and stuff, any diffs and things like that.
So under there actually looks pretty good.
It's spotless,
Really good.
as far as, you know, vans of this age go.
So it's a 12-year-old van.
Yeah, it's excellent really for its condition.
So you're looking at that and you're going, that's a huge point there.
Yeah,
right away.
yeah, definitely. I think it all, and really the paint is very faded on this. It's very flat and dull, but for me, that's perfect if I'm buying a van. You know, if the paint's a bit flat, it's got a scratch here that runs all the way along there. I suspect that's where the old sticker was, the old police stickers were.
Oh, right, okay, yeah.
And stuff like this, you know, it's cosmetic. It's obviously where there has been a light or something. It doesn't affect the van at all, and actually the condition is good. But it's what I would use as bargaining chips.
Yeah.
It's all stuff that as you're looking around, oh, well, that's, you know, 100 quid there, 100 quid there, and it's all stuff that adds up. So that if you want to try and knock a bit of price off, these are reasons for it. You can't just turn up and say, oh, I'll give you half that.
Yeah.
That's rude. You know,
Yeah.
you've got to justify what you're saying to say, I think it's worth this much,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
And the point is, we don't want to insult anyone, you know. Selling cars isn't an easy job. It's not a nice job, really. So we certainly don't want to make their life any harder. So another thing I'd do is have a look on the roof, especially on a high top van. If it has, because I have a big high top van, and they're a pain in the ass to clean on the roof. However, if it is clean on the roof, you know that person's taken the time to get the ladders out and clean it on the roof. They've also probably cleaned it underneath and cleaned all the other bits that are important to keep, you know, keep tidy. So that's pretty much it for the externals. I would have a look in the engine bay. I mean, to be honest, you will learn more from doing a test drive than you will from looking in the engine bay. The only things that you would find potentially useful might be, because, and I mean, this is kind of more for this van, you know, Vitos themselves, the travel liner ones, are used quite often as taxis. So there's a few things you can look out for there. But on the engine bay, this is super clean, you know, spotless really for a van of this age. There's a couple of cobwebs, but, you know, these can get very dusty. All your covers can get very dusty. So it's actually really good, in really good nick. I'd have a look, make sure all the doors are opening. Another thing to look for, which is a good indicator, is gaps around your doors. Now there's a few scuffs on these from various things going in. It's good to point out when you're buying, but it doesn't really matter, you know. It's nothing too dramatic. And when you look down this door here, that gap all the way down is the same width. And that's really important. So if it had a hard life, if it had maybe had a bit of a fender bender, a bit of a bump, those door gaps can change, you know, by the panels moving or the door dropping. And if this had been used as a taxi, that door might have been opened 10,000 times. Eventually that door drops, and you would see it tighter at the bottom and wider at the top. So that's another thing to look for. Just check that all the doors are running pretty good. But I'd just be looking at the internals, checking that there was no major leaks or anything. Not much to see in here. Obviously, it's got two captain seats up front rather than the bench seat, which Vitos normally have. And when you look inside, the seats, you know, it's a bit of a mess at the minute, but the seats are spotless.
Oh, right, yeah.
And one of the things you can look at, there's a couple of holes in the dashboard, probably from, you know, where the police radios or whatever.
But it's clean, isn't it?
Very clean, yeah. And one of the other things you can check for, so these seats are bad for wearing a hole into them here. Can you see where that's gone a bit floppy there?
Yeah.
I mean, it is just the nature of these seats, because getting down out of the van is just longer than your legs. Everyone slides off. It's a real pet peeve of mine when people slide off the seats and they don't stand and get out.
It's not what you always shout at me when I'm getting out of your car.
It's your little legs, yeah. That's something to look out for. And I mean, you know, that's not bad at all. Very rare that you see them without a hole there. And another thing that I would always ask is that when I go and view a van, is that I want it to be cold when I arrive. If you turn up and the engine's hot, an engine that is hot will always start better than an engine that's cold. So it's always good that if you can get there, the engine's cold, it's not been running, you will see if that is struggling to start when you turn it over. You know, diesels, you need to turn the ignition on, give it time for the fuel to pump and for the coils to come up to heat, and then turn the engine on. See if it's struggling, see how many turns it takes to turn on. And then once it's on, I'm listening for sounds, knocks, whistles, anything that sounds out of the ordinary. And then we're also looking for if there's any warnings on the dashboard. Another layer to that would be to take an ODB port code reader with you and see if there's any fault codes on it. You're getting into, some people won't like that, but getting into the more sort of technical end of it there. But yeah, I mean, generally looking on the inside here, it is absolutely spotless. And I've driven this around the car park just to move it, and I mean, it's about as tight as one of these can get, It's starting and stopping how it should. The gearbox is, I mean, I love the auto gearbox in these. I think that's a really nice option, especially for if you're going to have it as a camper, do long drives. I mean, the luxury of not having to clutch, and you can sit in traffic quite happily then. So really good. I think a space vehicle, this one, it's ideal. So
say if I was trying to sell this for, I don't know, I'll just make up a price, 15 grand.
Yeah.
You'd say to me, okay, 15 grand, I'll tell you what I'll give you because of...
Well, I would go around, I would say, these bits of bodywork are going to have to be sorted out. This sort of yellowing, this discoloration to the paint, the whole paintwork is at the bare minimum going to need a full detail, which is, if you want it done right, it's going to be at least 500 quid. Mm-hmm. And if you actually wanted to paint this, you're looking at thousands. I'd probably knock 10% off, so I'd probably go in £1.5 cheaper. So I'd probably go in at 13.5.
13.5?
I'd say that's fair for this condition of vehicle.
We got a deal.
Thank you, sir.
Great deal.
Thank you very much.
I like it.
But in reality, extremely clean. The underside of it's great. It's obviously, when you're looking at something like this and it's come from ex-police, it's been looked after well.
So you've got that trust in it already.
It's different when you look, because I have seen some of the ex-police BMW X5s and the Volvos, and they're a different story. They're clean mostly on the outside. They've been well looked after, but they've been driven hard. Mm-hmm. So one of the other things I'd do is, if I was going to look at this van, I'd get on Google, I'd go Mercedes-Benz Vito 2013 common faults. There'll be a forum, there'll be lots of different places and people saying, oh, my handbrake keeps failing, and you'll know to check that. Or, oh, what do I do about this panel rust? And this age of Mercedes, as you will see from mine, they suffer with panel rust. Yeah. And generally, if you get underneath it and the chassis is okay, that to me says this can be bodyworked, this can be painted. It isn't a welding and a massive job, It tends to be more of a bodywork issue, a cosmetic issue, as you say.
Nice.
All right?
Yeah.